Okay, this is fun. All right, this is my first blab. So I have a little bit to share with you and then want to open everything up and invite you in. Hi, thank you, Miss Felicia. I'm so excited to see you here. And we've got a couple people already subscribed. So from everything I know, we're just going to get started. If you're here online, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know what part of the country you're in. We're going to do a little bit of motivation, and then I'm actually going to bring people on and we're going to talk about today's topic. Because I love Denver. I think Denver's a lot cooler right now than Texas is for sure. But we're going to talk about kind of motivating ourselves and growth hacking because they actually go hand in hand. And so one of the things I will share with you, I'll go ahead and I'll type this in so that it's in there, that I love little mnemonic things, ways to remember aspects of our business. It just keeps it really easy for me, and I like things being simple. But there's kind of this formula that I learned from my very first business coach, and it really helps kind of underscore why you have to work on yourself as much as you have to work in your business. And that kind of formula was be times do equals have. So that's what it is. And that really says that who you are is as equally important as what you do. And that who you are is encompassed with what you believe, what your values are, where your alignments are. And if any of that is out of whack, forget it. You're screwed. I'm just going to be honest with you. That's the way it is. And that's where a lot of people will say, I'm doing the right things. Yay. But if you're not behind it 110% in your mind with who you are, then the doing part won't give you the results that you're looking for. So today what I wanted to talk about was open loops. So I want to talk about what is a loop and what gets started and why this is important. But really an open loop begins, you open a loop anytime you do something like start a new project or make a phone call for information, or you're out there. Hi, Gerald. Nice to have you. We're kind of talking about open loops today. But it's this kind of unforeseen force in our business of opportunities that we open but we never close. And so when I find people have a hard time in growing their business, it's because there's so many loops, so many opportunities that have been left open. And it's interesting what happens when you have all of these open loops in your business. So maybe you made a sales pitch to somebody and didn't get a commitment or didn't receive feedback on it. That would be an open loop. If you've called somebody for information or delegated a task to somebody, but you haven't followed up with it, that would be an open loop. If you have reached out to somebody else as an expert to get more information on how you could grow your business and you don't give an answer to them, that's an open loop. And what happens is that when our habit, Gerald, tell us where you are, by the way. I love to see where everybody is. We already have somebody in from Denver, so that's pretty exciting too. But when we get into a habit of having too many open loops, DC, awesome. I have some clients out in DC. When we get in a habit of having too many open loops, they start to seep into everywhere. So when I have a client in a business who is looking to bring on new clients and they can't seem to get a commitment, one of the questions I'm going to ask them is, where are you not giving commitments to? Because there's this unforeseen attraction that we typically attract people who are very much like ourselves into our business. And when we are receiving too much of what maybe we don't consider our ideal clients, I want to ask you, what trait are you exhibiting in your own life and business that is exactly what's being attracted? And this is a really interesting kind of concept of how we react to something. And let me give you another way to look at it. So listening to one of my mentors tell a story, and he talks about very early on, he was at a seminar and they were given basically this very sour candy and a very sweet candy. And the instructions were they were supposed to walk around the room and give the sweet candy to the people that exhibited the traits that they liked. So people that they felt that they could know, they could like, they could trust, that they felt like were good people. And said at the same time, you're going to take the sour candy and you're going to give it to somebody that really you're not on board with. Maybe they're driving you a little nuts. You find them irritating and annoying. And what was interesting, because this is my mentor telling the story, is he didn't get any sweets. He got the sour candies. And he's confident enough. He's like, okay, I get it. And she asked him, she goes, well, who did you give your sour candy to? And he told who he gave it to and why he was. He's like, this guy's an arse. He thinks he knows it all. He speaks over top of everybody. He isn't engaging, and he's just not a nice person. Well, then she asked some of the same people why they gave Brad that sour candy. And the answer was almost identical. So a lot of times what we see in other people that we're not enjoying is something that we're exhibiting in ourselves. And so the best way to kind of clear the clutter, if you will, of who you're attracting is to fix yourself, that B aspect of it. So when we close loops, right? So we have these open loops. We want to get in the habit of closing them. We want to get to a habit of resolution or results. Because if you're not in business to see results, it's more of a hobby, more of a playing type of thing. Business is about generating results. So we close loops to get results. But that's when you're either making a decision or you've made a commitment. And when you are making more decisions and commitments in your own business, you're not afraid to ask people to make decisions and commitments in their business, especially if that means enjoying your service or your product or the expertise that you share with your clients. So when you close these loops, you're also talking about fulfilling requests. So if you've ever had somebody ask you for information and you've made a commitment to give it to them, yet 3 weeks have passed, that closed loop or that open loop actually is cluttering up the flow. Okay, so it's a little woo-woo if you think about it, but it's really some of that psychological stuff that happens in the back of our head that the front of our head doesn't understand why things are not moving forward. So one of the personal practices that I have is I actually make every attempt for any loop that I've opened during the week. I make the attempt on Friday that I have made an attempt to close that loop in a positive way for my business. So that means if I need a no, I need a no, and I try to set up any conversations that I have about our services and being, you can say yes, you can say no, and it's okay. I just need an answer because then I know where to put my time and effort. And then you're not having to listen to me if you don't want to. I don't want people that don't want to listen to me in my sphere. I want people that see value in what we're doing and can get results from it. So it's closing those loops. But by the same token is what loops are you leaving open and can you close? When you do this, okay, so how does this relate to growth? When you start to close these loops, when you start to make commitments, when you are committed enough to complete what you said you were going to do, even if you don't feel like it, because heavens knows, I've been there. Anybody else? Have you been there? But when you do that, then stuff starts happening. See, growth isn't hard. It's really, really, really not hard. Growth is simple. But what makes it hard is the delays that we put into action because we don't close our loops. So with that, I know we just have a few people on, and that's okay because you know what? It's my first blab. But what that means is that the people that we have on, I am actually going to allow to come in and let's chat a little bit. So I've got Gerald coming kind of activating here. So Gerald, I'm going to open it up. So come on in, talk to me. What do you think about today?
Hey, I just came in the middle, but I saw the topic and I knew I hadn't seen you, and wanted to welcome you to Blab. Congratulations on your first Blab. Awesome.
Thank you.
Very good to see you sitting here. Awesome. The topic is very interesting. When we talk about growth, I always tell people that my favorite saying is that change is guaranteed. Things are going to change. Progress is not. Progress is optional. So, you know,
That's very true.
people tend to think that if you're changing, you're necessarily making progress. And that's not always true. It goes back to your point. People leave it too open-ended of how they want to move about, and they want to let life dictate to them what's happening. And if you allow that to happen, you find yourself miserable, you find yourself sad, you find yourself unhappy because you aren't living your fullest potential because you feel out of control. And nobody likes that feeling. So if we are able to assume control over those things, then it's a lot easier for us to be happy. And as you were saying, with the growth part, growth really isn't that hard. Growth, well, I challenge that just a little.
Okay, go for it.
Okay.
I'm ready.
The reason I say growth is hard is because it's developing new habits, and new habits are never easy for people because they're so used to doing things one way. So that's the only thing I would challenge about that. But once they're committed to it, then it's really not that hard. The thing that's hard for people is the commitment, is the getting through that process of, okay, I'm not going to be perfect at this right away. Every master was once a disaster. You have to realize.
I've got some I can share, believe me.
I know we all can. So I think that's the part that people miss, is that you got to go through it in order to be able to get to that next level. In order for you to be able to teach or be whatever you want to be, you aren't going to be those things without going through that process. And a lot of people want to skip the process part. They just want to get straight to the progress. And you can't go ahead.
You brought up a good point. I mean, the habits is definitely a hard part for everybody to get onto. And I stress that it's a process. It's a learning process. But a lot of times when I'm speaking, people go, well, what's the one thing that every business, the number one problem? And, don't you love that question? I said, easy. The biggest problem every business has is what's stuck between your brain. Because if a AC repairman can make $1 million, you can too. And what's the difference between it has a lot to do in your attitude, that B part, and who you are in business, and then the right actions that are going to get you there. But we get so distracted because we're not after results in being on Facebook. Now we're on Blab, but I have a result that I'm after here, right?
I was going to say,
a purpose.
Yeah. And this is a different platform. I feel that's important for speakers and people like us that coach and that do trainings, whichever one of those titles people are using. They use them interchangeably, but they're not the exact same thing. Hey, Keith. Hey, Keith's a great guy. You should.
Oh, hi, Keith.
Keith has a lot to contribute. But I would say, all these titles that we throw around interchangeably, not realizing that we may be labeling ourselves wrong in the first place. We have trainers, we have consultants, we have mentors, we have coaches, and people try to use them all interchangeably, and they're not the exact same thing. So the first thing I say to people usually is, what result are you looking for?
Well, that's the key. I mean, if you're not in whatever you're doing in business, because we only have so much time during the day, we all have 24 hours. If you're not key to the result that you want, how do you even know what to do next?
Exactly. And how can we help you? Because the analogy I always give them, I say, okay, I want you to think about it like this. And I said, I don't want you all to view me as a miracle worker. Okay. I'm not God. I'm not coming in here and I'm just going to make your business better. Because if you go to a doctor, he's going to ask you what's wrong so he can give you the right prescription. If you don't give me any situations or problems, I don't know what to prescribe for you, or even if I can help you at all, because what you may be looking for may not be a coach. You may want a consultant. You may need a mentor first before you're ready for a coach or a consultant or a trainer to come in. If you're looking for a specific task, you may just want the trainer to come in and do a training for you and your people, and you can go on about your business. So I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's ailing you before I can help you. And that's the problem in our industry that they do to us, is that they come to us like, okay, tell me one thing. Yeah, exactly. I know it's not our problem, it's their problem, but they try to make it our problem because they think that we are just can mystically give me one thing. That's fine. That's okay. I just need to know one thing I can do right now. So I'll know whether I should do business with you. No, tell me what's wrong
It's that red pill. Are you looking for the red pill or the blue pill? I brought on Felicia too because she raised her hand a couple of times. Hey,
Hey,
Felicia.
Felicia.
Hey, how
Hey,
are you guys doing?
You're in Denver, right?
Yes. I
Okay.
don't know if you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Cool.
Okay.
Microphone's working then.
Always good. So,
You
Felicia,
know,
talk to me
okay.
about what we've been talking about. What's resonating with you?
Well, one of the biggest things when you're talking about change, and I saw this on another Facebook post some weeks ago about self-awareness. And the biggest thing with all of us business, personal lives is that we need to understand self-awareness. And once you understand what you're doing right, wrong, or more about yourself, then you can jump up to that higher level. But it's that self-awareness piece. It's that piece that nobody wants to face because it's hard. It makes you cry. Nobody likes crying.
Yeah, well, that's true. Go ahead, Leslie. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I think, this is my second business, and I've been an entrepreneur going on 9 years. Next year will be 9 years. So exciting times. But my first business, we had that rise and fall like a lot of businesses did. And it took that moment of realization that everything wrong in my first business was wrong because of something I believed, a decision I made, or something I allowed to continue. And that can be really depressing. I think it was depressing, for a couple weeks. But it's also like, to your point, Felicia, it's really empowering when you realize that you can then do something about it.
Yes.
And I see too many business owners getting stuck in that trap of, well, the world's against me. It's all the bad clients. It's them, and not taking that ownership and responsibility of self-awareness to step forward and say, oh, it might be me.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what people fail to realize that the main issue in the results in our life changing overall is always about us. You know, your income, your business, all of that only grows to the extent that you do. If you stay the same person and your business is constantly in flux and changing and you're trying to stay the exact same way, guess what? Your business is going to fail because you are not adapting. You are not growing. So naturally, how is something you're trying to put out into the world going to be able to grow if you are not growing yourself? So that is the challenge. And the thing I talk to people about more so, I tell them to get out of their mindset. We talk about that a lot. Get into your heart set, because whatever your heart is set on, that's the one thing in your body that your brain does not control. So if you really are fully vested in your heart into something, there's nothing your head can do to stop it, because your brain can never tell your heart, stop beating. Don't feel that anymore. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
So if we get into here and get in touch with the emotional connection that we need to drive us through the challenges, then we always find a way. And when your heart is in something, you always find a way. I mean, we've all had bad relationships that everybody's like, no, stop, don't go back to them. And you're like, oh man, it's just something about it. So
it's a belief.
Exactly.
It's a deep-seated belief. I want to say howdy to Karen and Taylor. I know Keith's out there saying hi too. So thanks for joining us. And we started the conversation and talking about open loops and closed loops. Being open is the opportunities that we tend to open in our business, whether they're a project or pitching to a new client, speaking in front of somebody, and we never seem to come back around and close these loops. And it's one of those hindrances that we're really keeps you from being able to get that exponential growth in your business that we all want to see. And, to Gerald's point there, when your belief is something that happens when you're not thinking about the result. And so I know that when I see that in my own business, back to Felicia's point of being self-aware, when I see that I'm not getting the result, I have to stop and say, okay, what is it that I really believe about this? And usually, when you're getting into that aspect of your business, you get that emotion. You'll get oh God, I can't believe I've got to do this. Or you're jazzed up, man, let's go. This is exciting. I've been looking forward to this all day long, right? And that emotion is really key into helping us understand if we've got a belief that is off track with the result that we're trying to achieve. Do you find that happening at all, guys?
Oh yes, it's happened. None of us are perfect. I know I faced it several times in the beginning. I started my first business uh, 13 years ago now, 2002, and I really didn't. I knew I wanted to start my business because I just found myself irrevocably unemployable. So I just, it was no way I was going back to that. I was like, okay, my ladder was on the wrong building. I can't do that anymore. But, but
anybody else out there
yeah,
just
Yes.
unemployable?
so
Yay!
yeah, so during the first duration or the first few months, though, I found myself, when you go through that starving, as they say, starving artists, because entrepreneurs really are artists because we're here creating something. And I couldn't pay myself because I had to pay my people. That was a very, very humbling position. And my heart was like, okay, is this really what you want to do? Like, you can't even take yourself to McDonald's right now. And you're talking about you want to do this business. And the thing that pushed it for me, though, was the people that believed in my dream almost more than I did, because they quit their jobs to come help me build my dream, which is the only reason why I was willing to pay them before I paid me. And I said, you know what? I have to, because it's not about me. And when I got that understanding that your dream, your real passion is never really about us. It's about the world. It's about the people that you are able to affect because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, that I was able to push through. But those first 3 months was misery.
I believe it really is. And I think in my first business, I spent 3 years paying a staff of 4,
Yes.
but not paying myself.
Yes.
I had overhead. I had the corporate office, the marketing. Man, I can't even tell you how many stinking times I bought stationery of all things to buy, because your stationery is going to help you grow a business.
Yes.
But it's that vanity kind of aspect there. Felicia, I know this is part of what you do, but talk to me a little bit about the mindset. What's the mindset shift that has to happen for a business owner, in my opinion, go from that business owner that pays everybody else themselves into an entrepreneur that values themselves enough to pay themselves first?
Well, since I deal with business owners and teaching them how to budget and money, a lot of it is how you see money and your money mindset. And some people, it is amazing how many people start a business and feel they don't deserve the money. It is absolutely, it's so counterintuitive to what we're doing. And we go to all these classes. I want to hit 6 figures, 7 figures, but for whatever reason, I don't want to pay myself because I don't need it. And it's like, that really doesn't work, but it's just like, it's like your health. You have to take care of yourself first, then you can take care of everyone else. Because if you can't keep your lights on, you can't keep your dog and cat happy, and both of them are behind me. If they are mad because they're not eating, then you start disrupting your house. And then, of course, when your house is upset, then your business is upset. And it's just a domino effect. So, and it's not so much that you have to pay yourself millions of dollars. You have to practice. You have to practice, because all of a sudden, if you start making billions and billions, and then you say, you know what, this year I'm going to pay myself $2 million. Yeah, it doesn't really work that way. You can't just come take money out. But it is interesting just seeing that mindset of, and Leslie, what you were saying, there is an ego to it. There is I'm a business owner, and sometimes owning a business is like buying that brand new fancy car. You get the cards, you get the stationery, you get the office, you look the part, and you realize that you're not making any money.
Yes.
And that sucks, but you are representing well for a business owner.
Yeah. See, and that's, like I said, what I believe we all go through in the first phase, because for 6 months I couldn't take a check, but I had everybody had pretty business cards, and we had a beautiful sign outside the door, and I'm paying for company cars, and I'm sitting there like, I can't even pay my rent. Well, I mean, my mortgage on my house, and I'm sitting here paying for all this extra stuff so it can look a certain way. You know, but what that taught me, though, was you got to go through something to get to something. I had to learn a lesson in that. And I lost all the vanity stuff. I ended up losing it.
Yeah.
For my dream. But after that 6 months, after I lost the house, after I lost the car, all that, God was like, okay, that's not what you need.
Like, wake up.
What are you doing this for? Remember what you're doing this for. And as soon as I came to that understanding, after 6 months of not making a profit, on the 7th month we made a profit, and we've never been back in the red since. So it was a refocusing of the energy and understanding why you're doing it in the first place. And that's what a lot of people lose sight of. Like you said, they get caught up in, oh, I want the money. I want the car. I want the office. They want to look like a certain thing. They believe that's what represents success. That's their representation of success. And success isn't about that.
It's so not. And guys, by the way, we've had Wayne join us, and I know the Logical Fox has joined us, and I've said howdy and everything, but we have an open seat. So if you'd like to kind of join in, I think it's showing up available. If it's not, let me know and I'll try to figure that out. But, feel free to kind of chime in. But I think, the key aspect there is we don't have a good definition of what success is.
Absolutely.
And I know especially new clients that come on, and 6 figures is a really easy goal that most new businesses have. We want to reach 6 figures. But what amazes me, and that's the moniker of success, is I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? What is 6 figures to you? Howdy, TT. Thanks for joining us. But 6 figures really is vague. It is a cloud in and of itself. It's not truly a goal because there's nothing that can be measured against it, right? I need to know that you need $154,325.49. That's what that's something we can do something about. But when our definition of success is so vague, it's unachievable.
That is so true. If you don't define it, it will confine you. That's
very true.
That's what we say. If you don't define it, it will confine you. You have to be specific. And as long as you're non-specific, you will always get exactly that.
But you know what? It all goes back to, it's all the self-awareness. It is, I am a baby in my business. It'll actually be a year, October 1st.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are days it's like, man, why did I give up a paycheck to do this? This is hard. I never had to work this hard before. My brain will not stop. And I told my husband, I was like, screw therapy, start a business, because you will face every demon, every problem, every self-esteem. You face every last bit of it, but it's like the ego. But once you get over it, then you can start really seeing the future. But I think you do have to go through those growing pains first.
Gerald, I'm going to say thanks for joining in. I want to bring in a couple other people.
Yeah, I was about to jump out. I was going to say thank you, Leslie.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Blab. I look forward to more conversations with you and Felicia. You all have a wonderful, wonderful day, because I got a 2:30 anyway. So
have a great meeting.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you.
We've got a couple other people on, kind of pop in. I'd love to hear you. We can take on two more people. Go experience. Coach Karen saying, I say, go experience it or put your money in another currency and become a millionaire. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to earn money out there. And for sure, entrepreneurship has that kind of upside of a lot of things if you've got the right pieces and parts in place to get you there. But, most of us come into business, especially our first business, being good at the doing of a job, if you will. We're really good accountants. We're really good trainers. We're really good bookkeepers, whatever it is. And the concept of building the business and then staying motivated, which is, one of the reasons we're here, because we're talking about motivational moments. And I love doing it on Mondays because, Mondays tend to be the day that people dread. And I'd love to see it actually be the day that people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, look forward to. Right? Because it's the start of a day. And if you're like me, I structure it to where I'm really not working on Fridays because I'm ready for my weekend and I'm ready to be a mom again and a wife again and have a life. So by the time I get to Monday, I'm ready to start going again because I like the Friday aspect. I like having Friday off, but the only way I'm going to get Friday off is if I'm nailing it to the board Monday through Thursday. So if you've got, I love Coach Karen said, yay, I love Mondays, but we can have a couple more people come on. Let's talk about some innovations. We started talking about opening loops and closing loops, meaning that, if you're experiencing a lot of people not saying anything, yes or no to you, not returning your phone calls, not returning your request for information. My challenge is always to look internal, to Felicia's point a little bit earlier, being that self-aware of where am I not doing that in my own business and how am I not leading by example. So if y'all have got some questions out there, hi, Tracy Champagne joined us. So excited to have you out here. This is my first blab. So if this is your first blab, just come on because honestly, we'll be newbies together. I think this is Felicia's first lab too. So
yeah,
we're just having a good time, having a great conversation.
Hey, Leslie, I do want you to go back. When you first started, you were talking about how you attract the clients that are kind of like you. And that hit a chord big time with me.
It's really interesting because especially if one of the marketing techniques you're using is your own voice. So a lot of the strength in being in small business is that the niche that you can own is who you are. Nobody can be who you are. Nobody can tell the stories that you have. Nobody can share or help people the way that you do. I mean, that's truly, if you get to niching, especially in small business, that's the key core. So if you are owning that aspect of it, I'm going to go ahead and bring on Coach Karen here while I finish. But if you are owning that aspect of it, then you are putting yourself out and you're demonstrating who you are in the world. And you're naturally going to attract people that go, oh my gosh, that's me. That's me. I can see that. I want what she has, he or she has. I can see how I do this. Help me more. But there's always that key aspect of that subconscious thing that we're attracting that typically we're exhibiting in our own businesses. So howdy, Coach Karen. Thanks for coming on. What do you think about what we've been sharing today? And hi, Xana, I'm not going to say your last name because I'm horrible at that, but howdy, welcome.
Thanks for having me on. Wonderful topic. That's what caught my eye. So, and you're doing great for your first blog. I sucked at my first blog.
Well, everyone hit the tell a little bird and let people know how awesome we're doing over here. So,
yes.
But you know what? The sucking the first time is awesome because that means you only have up.
Yeah, that's how I saw it. So I went right back in the next day. I got people in there and just keep going. Actually, I'm going to start a show. I was thinking next week, but I think I'll start sooner and just play around. I have a few people waiting to be interviewed, but I'm probably going to jump on this evening too and just do something that came to mind for me.
Awesome.
But I love the topic because I love motivating people. One of the things I do, I have a course right now on budgeting to break through because honestly, as you were saying, most people start a business and they are coming from a work environment. So they're not understanding that they need a business budget. So when they have things to buy really for the business, it's not, oh my God, I got to get this money to buy it. It's in my business budget to get, you have to buy it because this is what you need. This is the equipment you need. And you can bootstrap things, but it's going to take you that far. And then you realize, you need to put some money into the game and get some things that you need. And so I just like to help people get started on the right foot, a personal budget and a business budget. I usually recommend for them to have some.
Well, and that's the money aspect that Felicia was talking about earlier is our belief around money. I know, one of the things that once we've solved the problem of getting enough cash into your business, the next thing I want people to do is start managing the cash, right? Knowing where it's going. A lot of what both you and Felicia help really laser in with people on, but there's fear. There's so much fear.
Don't go away.
Oh my gosh, just knowing, not even like growing it, but just knowing where the money's going and where it's coming in. And you know what, honestly, you need the budgets, you need the financial forecasting, you need somebody that can help you guide yourself along with that. But you're never going to get past or even into six figures. You surely are not going to get into $500,000 businesses if this isn't something that you can master. And why not master it early when you have time?
That's what I keep saying in the beginning. Start at the beginning, because when you can manage small portions of anything, it's like, if you are the supervisor, the manager for employees, and you can't manage 2 on your staff or 3. When you get 6 people, what are you going to do?
Where are you going to go? Where are you going to take it? Okay, so
it's the same thing, and it's all in the mind.
I want to give you all the opportunity, and we'll start with Felicia. But if you had to say, because we're talking to motivational moments today and growth hacking, and we've kind of gotten into the money mindset and what we believe around money, what would be a motivational point that you would share with everybody that's on the call today? So Felicia, go first.
I would think the motivational point, and I like this, is to determine your why. And I know there are tons of things I've heard. Simon Sinek, he does something, but it's, why are you doing this? Why do you get up every morning purposely not getting paid, starting a business, marketing, being on Blab, talking to people you don't know? And it's just why you need to figure out why you are doing this, because and it needs to be a big enough why. And it can go with the money, it can go with anything. If your why is not very big, you're probably going to fail pretty soon. So that why needs to be really, really big, because that's the only thing that's going to keep you motivated. Because, there's going to be some weeks where you just want to give up. But if you always return to that why, then you can see the future. So I just recommend for everyone just to always tune into your
that
why.
Goes straight back into what Gerald was sharing with us earlier, that, it was really that point of when he left, his purpose and his passion for what he was doing. And really, it wasn't about the money. I mean, he didn't mention money once when he shared, what it was, but when he left that's when money became a problem. And, I'm not going to say if you build it, they'll come. And I'm certainly not going to say, if you only follow your passion, it's going to work, because there's a lot more about it. Let's be honest. But it does have to be that cord that runs through every bit of your business, that it goes back to, what you're doing. So if I had to define my why, it's really that I'm helping people have healthy businesses so that they can have healthy families. That has a lot to do with my background story. It has a lot to do with my parents having business and what happened in our family. But that, at the end of the day, is that measuring stick. So I can choose to have somebody come on if I'm fulfilling that passion. But where we're not in alignment, a lot of times is when there's no family behind it. And so that's the angle that I come out from it. Coach Karen, go ahead and share with us kind of your money motivation.
Okay. To continue what you guys are saying, you're just right on target. Your why really make you push forward and push on when all the blocks and all the fears and all the, whatever you're hearing, either because you are bringing that forth in your mind or you're hearing it from the outside. So we're fighting inner demons and outer demons. And my why, I never even look at it as a why, but I started out in business at the age of 9. And so it was because of a need. So I wasn't going into business, but a tiny bit of the story. I lost my tickets. I used to live with my grandmother, and she said, you can eat or walk. And it was a 2-hour walk, and I never realized it was such a walk. And when I got to school, I was late. Well, my why was I was going to be educated, and I was going to do great things. So I was getting to school, period. So, and I had to eat. So I made a choice. I was like, I'm going to walk. Every single day, I'm going to walk until. And, over the course of walking for like 2 weeks, I started coming up with great ideas, what I could do to make money, because I needed tickets. At least that was the top of my mind. I wanted to make money. And when I did make the money, I never even spend the money in bus fare anymore because I had such great ideas that screw the bus, I'm walking. Because now I start breaking it down to an hour and a half walk, and then I break it down to an hour because I'm running and walking. So I was feeling great. So my work got greater. And really, it's your big why. I realized years later that it wasn't the money, but when I started out, it was the money because I could only see getting the tickets. So I use that a lot with clients. Sometimes we start out, even though we want a big why. I had a coaching client once, and I feel sometimes the immediate that the person needs to be satisfied with and see results for, sometimes that's where we have to start with them and then take them to the bigger why. Because within a couple of weeks, she knew the bigger why. Her bigger why was to feed, homeless people because of something happened to her. Her why was to shelter them. But in that moment, she was just catering to her son's need and a shelter for herself and different things that was happening at that time. So she couldn't see the bigger picture. But once we started working, oh boy, that big why came full force out, and get her working towards those goals. So sometimes it is a money thing that starts driving us. And then as we keep going, we realize that's just the tip of the iceberg, and there's just such a bigger picture behind it. So
that's an awesome share. I know, Felicia, you got to get going. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Coach Karen, thank you for coming on. What I'd like to do is kind of open up the seats and let's bring on some other people. Let's share. We started, thank you, Coach Karen. I'll give, as people come on, if you're ready to share with us and come on screen. We've started talking about, hi, Chris, I am doing fabulous. It's a Monday and I've made 2 sales and I've helped an amazing client. So honestly, I could be done for the day and I'd be good. I love those days where it's like, it's, 1 o'clock and I could quit for the day because it's been such a great day. But thanks for joining us. We were talking about motivational moments and growth and how your motivation really ties into your ability to grow. And, I started off talking about open loops and closed loops, which is really the things we're not finishing in our business and how that shows up in our clients and being able to close loops to be able to get growth. But we've transitioned into just clarity, money mindset, things like that. We've had a new user join us, and I'll say howdy because I can't read what your name is, but that's okay. So type in and introduce yourselves. Tell us where y'all are from. But we've got a couple of open seats if you'd like to come on and we're talking about motivation here, especially as entrepreneurs and business owners, and how that translates into us being able to, Hi, howdy, Chris. Chris is in Austin, so he's not that far away from me. I'm up at Dallas. Gotta love the Texas. Texas is representing today. But we're really talking about motivation in business and really how that translates to growth and how it can impact you. So if you'd like to join us, we've got a couple, exciting people. I'm excited to see you here because I popped over and saw your little plan execute, and that's right up my alley because I think
I am in a really weird kind of state. I almost didn't come on because I've got these 2 cameras going, and it's just a tech thing. But I was like, we were talking last week about, you can't let something like that stop you. This is my first day back in my office. Mm-hmm. I hurt my knee and my office is upstairs. So I've been blabbing from my couch, which is not a comfort. This is my camera. I feel like a television. I'm in a television studio. That's not a comfortable place for me to be when I'm talking about business. I really want to be in my office. And because it's something I've trained myself to do through the years of working at home is when I walk in the store, I'm on. And when I walk out that door, I'm not. But, it was either wait 2 weeks until I could get my boot off and go upstairs or do it anyway. So, that sort of speaks to motivation, I think, because I cared more. At the end of the day, I cared more about, I really want to say this. I really need to share this. I really want to give this value more than I care about the fact that I'm on my couch and I can't get my hair done because my husband's gone for the day. I can't get upstairs and, redo the makeup and get the hair done. And, everything that, for me, that's kind of like a comfort zone, So when you get right down to the way it sort of dovetails with motivation is for me getting over a lot of hurdles in that area is thinking more about the people you came here to serve than thinking about yourself. And to me, that makes me get up and do it again every day. So I'd say that's number one. I mean, the why and all the things that everybody has said, really important too. But just recently, that's been more on my mind, for sure.
You know, it's interesting about that in preparing for today's show and really going out there and doing a little prep for myself. One of the quotes that I came along, and I love quotes. I'm a quote fanatic. Follow me on Twitter if you need quotes, because I got a lot. But, you know, it's basically said is commitment is what gets you through the day when you don't feel like it. And that is such a disciplined thing when it comes to being an entrepreneur. Howdy, Samantha and Christina. Feel free to join on. We've got a couple of open seats. We're talking about motivation in business. And now, Peep, what's your real name? So I don't have to call you Peep.
Cherie.
Okay.
Cherie.
There it is. I get it. Yeah. I'm on board. Sorry, multitasking. There's a lot going on this screen. So, Cherie.
It's weird when you pick your Twitter handle, you don't think about like how are people gonna. I never dreamed this scenario, so that's why my name's not in there.
Well, and I have been on Twitter since 2007, and even in the early days, people come and go, "Oh my gosh, your biz rules," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, your Smith loves Jones." You know? It's amazing how that personal connection doesn't always go. So, howdy, Rick. Welcome to the meeting. But to your point that you were talking about, you know, you were saying, well, it's not really my big why, but I wonder if it isn't, because your passion and your dedication to actually fulfilling on the promise, you know, that you've unconsciously, unverbally maybe have made to providing great content, to being there for people, to being consistent, because consistency is such a huge part of success in business, is a lot of that driving. It's that doing it even when you don't feel like you want to do it. So
right. And I totally agree with what the other gals were saying. You know, to do this, start your own business from nothing and have the strength to persevere through every kind of trial imaginable, to be alone and doing it by yourself, which most of us, when we start, we don't have employees or even VAs or anybody really helping us. And to do that, money is not enough. I mean, I appreciate what was it Karen was saying about how lack of money initially motivated her, but in the end of the day, it can't be about, I need 6 figures, so I'm going to do this. Because I don't think that alone will get you through what it takes to be an entrepreneur. I've seen it for years. 18 years I've been in the online world. I've seen so many entrepreneurs, so many great people, and most of them who are still here and still successful are the ones who are doing it because they feel it's their mission. They feel it's what they have to give to the world. And that matters more than the lonely nights or the late hours or the, overwhelm that sometimes happens. I mean, sometimes being a business owner is hard. It's really hard. So, I agree with you that the passion is, your why. And I don't know, like maybe there's others of you guys here who disagree. Maybe you feel like money is enough, like, the desire for money. But I'm just giving my viewpoint.
Well, and it's interesting because it goes hand in hand. There's the money discussion is always very interesting, but you can't stay in business if you have no money. Eventually, some bank account, some reserve is going to kind of get depleted. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Keith, who's going to join us here. But you eventually, they have to tie together. But there is a bigger why. A lot of people worked less in their corporate world. Howdy, Keith. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Join in. What are you thinking so far about what we've been sharing?
I think you're right on spot. I mean, the thing is, like, I have an inbound marketing agency, so we work with clients, and the ultimate goal is to help them grow their business. But ultimately, it's got to be more than just about making money. I mean, that's the one thing that I always look for when I'm talking with clients is, what's the main purpose that you want to do that? What's the ultimate goal? And mainly, thinking about who it is that they serve, and how they're going to be able to help them, and really wanting to be on social media and using the internet and stuff like that to tell their story, really answer people's questions and add value to what they do every day. So, I think that if somebody is coming into it with the mindset of I'm just doing this to make money, they're probably setting themselves up for failure. Ultimately, if you're starting with that greater purpose, that foundational why you're doing something, is going to put you down the right path. And it's going to make it a lot easier to overcome challenges as well. If anybody has read the Start With Why book that Simon Sinek wrote, he starts the book off about a story about this guy named Samuel Pierpont Langley, I think was his name, and him and the Wright brothers. And they were talking about how this Pierpont Langley guy, he was like really famous, and he had pretty much all the ingredients that he needed in terms of the money and the backing and everything that he really needed to succeed as being the first empowered man flight. And here the Wright brothers were, they really didn't have anything for them. They were just kind of doing it as a side thing. It was a greater dream for them. It was a foundational, why for them. And Langley was just going after the pure fame and the money that was going to be attached to it, where the Wright brothers, they didn't have any of those connections, but they had a dream. And so that foundational why pulled them through. And they were the first ones to achieve the, first Power Man flight. And then afterwards, Langley found out about it. And if he would have really been interested in what they were trying to do and really had believed in what was going on there, I think he would have like reached out to them and really supported what they were doing. But instead, Langley just decided that it wasn't worth it to him, and he just dropped out. He just quit because he wasn't there for any purpose other than just the fame and the fortune. And when he didn't get the fame and the fortune by being the first one, he decided that it wasn't worth it anymore. So I think that that's like a good kind of story to reflect on when you're thinking about your own business as far as that goes. Because, just starting off, times are going to get tough. It's not always going to go easy for you. And if you don't have a good, solid purpose for what you're doing, a reason why you're doing it, then you're going to set yourself up for failure.
I think with that example brings an interesting kind of, I guess, visual that you could put to it is that, when you meet, how many of us know somebody that does exactly what we do? I mean, you're either in social media, you're a business coach, you're doing whatever it is, and you can either feel threatened by that knowledge or have the understanding that there's more than enough to go around and that the right people will come to you when you're true to yourself and where you're serving on your passion, you're on point with that aspect of it. And that has a lot to do with it, in that kind of aspect is like, I'm not afraid of competition, mostly because I don't see competition. I see other people doing great work, doing and filling it in a way that they do. Christina, thanks for coming on. What do you think about everything we've been sharing?
I'm kind of torn about the money issue, simply because at some point, I think a lot of us, like really authentic, honest entrepreneurs that really, when you ask, like, what do you really want to do? Well, I just want to help people. When you get that answer, those are often the people that will give away a lot of their specialty for free because, well, it's what I'm good at. It comes easy to me. They just want to talk for 30 minutes on the phone. But then, 30 minutes turns into an hour, and then an hour turns into a Skype call, and then a Skype call turns into like a long-winded email. And then next thing you know, and I see the difference between, like, I went on hiatus. I took like at least a 4-year break where before kids, it was easy to do that. I was online all the time. I was connecting with people, giving a bunch of free advice, getting the know, like, trust factor, all of that. And then after kids, I'm like, I only have a really short amount of time now I get to work while my kids are at school. So I gotta, excuse the expression, I gotta hustle, right? I gotta work. I gotta make money. I got kids to feed. It's just a really different dynamic. And the way I see it is, if you're giving away too much, then it becomes a hobby. If you're not getting paid for it, you're spending a lot of money, right? We spend money in business on our internet connection, on the tools, on this awesome mic, on the different things that we have. But then it becomes a hobby if you're just giving it away for free. So I'm still struggling with that.
They go hand in hand, in all honesty. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I hear what you're saying totally. And I don't think, you know, from a business perspective, you have to have a full calendar and you have to have money in the bank, and it's got to be happening, or you won't be, you know, to my mind, I won't be here to help people that I care about, which is entrepreneurs. I want to see them succeed by using social media. Okay, that's my purpose, my passion. But I'm not going to be able to help them if my lights get shut off, you know? So I'm not trying to say by any means that having a good strategy and keeping a close watch on your numbers, having a great business plan, having a budget, sticking to it, those things are key. And especially when you are, like you were saying, once you have children, it's a whole different
ball of wax. You know, when you've got, and Keith, do you have kids?
I do, yeah.
Okay,
I do.
so you can chime in as the dad, as our resident dad here.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess I've never been an entrepreneur, not had children. So my kids were 2 and 1 when I launched my first business. They're 10 and 9 now, and it only gets more time consuming. You know, I work against a clock that says 2:30 is my cutoff time, and I've got to go be mom. And I structure my business around the roles that I have. So there is that aspect of being very intentional. It really goes back to what even Gerald brought on early on about being so specific and result driven to every aspect of your business that you're putting in, you know, effort into, that you can achieve a result, so that you're not a hobby, so that you are, you know, being able to serve your purpose and your value and make money while you're at it. With the kind of idea that this is about Motivational Monday, motivational moments, you know, I'd love to hear from you guys, maybe how you keep yourself motivated, even when it's not so easy. Maybe you didn't look forward to Monday today. You know, tell me, kind of share with everybody how you do that. Keith?
Yeah. So my key is to read books. I love, you know, finding inspiration in books. Matter of fact, I'm into one right now that's really good by Michael Port, called Book Yourself Solid. Yeah. And it's excellent so far. A lot of motivation and inspiration, but that's really what kind of keeps me going and gives me motivation and new ideas. And so I think it's a critical part of you know, being a business owner, is to constantly educate yourself and kind of stay ahead of the game. And I think if you're doing that, you know, it definitely keeps you going and motivated along the way. That's my tip.
Awesome. Christina, how about you?
I've just, I took like 2.5 months off to be home with the kids, this summer. And so, yeah, welcome back.
Yay!
Getting back. And I'm really trying to take the definition, you know, of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I think a lot of us entrepreneurs, stay up, you know, we keep late hours because, you know, you do what you got to do. But everything I'm reading about, like, really awesome entrepreneurs, the ones that made a difference in this world, and the ones that had this goal to make things better, is early to bed, early to rise. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying that. That's like kind of a new thing for me. And this book here, the 5-Minute Journal, like, okay. I'm not much of a person to look at a blank page and just say, yeah, I'm gonna journal now. Suddenly write and you know, come up with these amazing affirmations. And so this formula is really great. It really does only take about you know, 3-4 minutes in the morning and a couple of minutes in the evening to recap my day. But what's happening is when I'm done with my 5-minute journal, then I'm able to open up a blank page and fill it up. So that's what I'm doing, trying to have the quiet time before the kids, before the big rush of the morning, my business time. It's not even me time. It's not mom time. And I'm finding that is really, really helping me like stay motivated. I'm up. I'm ready. I'm ready to go before even the kids are ready to go. It's not the kids that are telling me to get up. It's my entrepreneurial beast that's telling me like, get up now and go take on the world.
Well, and I love that. I love that share, because it is so key to giving us a fresh breathing spot during the day. You know, when you've got something crammed at the beginning and something crammed at the end, and you know you've got to be picking up kids or practices, good gravy, those take up forever amount of time. You know, you're constantly going, and you feel like you do have to make the most out of every minute, but it's value in finding the quiet moments to let yourself, I don't know, think. Hi, kitty. I can see your kitty behind you, Christina. Here he comes. That's highly valuable. Sherry, what would you say? What's your way that you keep yourself motivated?
You know, I want to say first to you guys who still have kids at home, I started my first business before I had them, and being here and being able to demonstrate how to run a business, like it's not take your kid to work day, it's every day is take your kid to work day. And it is about the things that you guys have mentioned, so key to set aside those blocks of time. And when you are in that time, you're totally in that time. You are with your kids, you're with your kids. When you're in your office or working with a client, that's what you're doing. So I really want to applaud you guys for that. And I promise you it's going to pay off. Also teaching them the value of work and the fact that, hey, mom has this time during the day where I do this. And this is what you guys are going to get to do while I'm doing that sort of thing. Your guys are moms and dads, you know all about that. But I just wanted to throw that little word of encouragement out there to you guys. And as far as motivation, I pay a lot more attention now. I'm older, quite a bit, I'm sure, than you guys. I pay a lot more attention now to how I feel about it. How is my gut feeling about what I'm doing? So, for instance, if my coach or somebody, a colleague or something says, really, sure, you need to teach these classes. If I don't, and I take everyone's advice that I respect always, and I think it over. But if I don't feel it with my gut, like this is really what I ought to be doing, unless it's a legal issue that I have to do, then I don't do it. I let it go, and I figure that's not for me right now. And that way, what I am doing, I really want to do it. I'm choosing, very strategically what I want to do that's going to make me happy. That's my best work, because that's what my clients deserve, is the very best work I can give them. And the best way for me to make sure I do that is to make sure I'm doing the things that I'm good at and my sweet spot in terms of my skill set. So, those are just some thoughts. I guess hopefully that's a little bit helpful, but.
Well, and I do think initially you don't put enough value into your intuition, and that's valuing your own expertise and how you feel that your business should be run. When your business isn't in alignment, it doesn't work as well as when it is in alignment, even if it doesn't make sense to everybody else. And I loved your permission really about balance. When I'm helping clients get that balance, I tell them, balance isn't about 50-50, because this is static. This is not life. You can't maintain this. Balance and presence is about being where you need to be, when you need to be there, and then being there 110%, so that you enjoy it. You can feel contentment. You can feel happiness. You can see a result. And then when you need to be somewhere else, you step into that other kind of shoe with that. Sherry, thank you for joining us. I'm going to close you down if you don't mind and allow somebody else to come in, but
Sure.
I've loved having you on.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Me too. My kids are going to be in about 7 minutes, so it's going to get really loud in here. Thanks for having me in.
Thanks, Christina, for joining in. The motivation is so key. Keith, how long have you been in business?
So I've had my own company for 5 years, but
Okay.
I actually ended up merging with another company. It was a strategic partnership at that time. So that company has actually been around for 12 years. So
Oh, wow.
So we say that our company's been around for 12 years, but I kind of started off with this business 5 years ago. Before that, I actually had another business of my own as well that I started while I was in college, and that kind of led to this business. I was actually running golf tournaments all over the U.S. for junior golfers, for kids between the ages of 10 to 19. And so I was flying out like every weekend to go to these events, and it was a lot of fun. And we actually attracted these kids through the internet and used marketing to do that. But long story short, as I got married and I had twins and the whole traveling thing wasn't working out. And,
yeah, imagine.
So I had to make a bit of an adjustment, speaking in lines with the stuff that goes on with your life. But yeah, things have been great. I mean, I really love, working with companies to help them, grow their business using the web. And so I became a partner with HubSpot back in 2009. And so we've been HubSpot partners since pretty much the beginning. And actually, I'm actually just getting back after the Inbound conference this past week out in Boston. So it's been pretty it's been a pretty crazy last few days here.
Awesome. So I have a question for you. We have a couple seats open, guys. So if you'd like to join in, we'd love to have you on. We've been talking about really a lot of motivation and what makes business successful and kind of a big scheme. And I love digging in and finding out what works for other people because we're so uniquely individual. And so if you're not finding what works the best for you, then you're struggling. And so that's one of my little fun things is helping people connect with that. So I love doing that. So Keith, here's the question. From your first 3 years of business to even the last 3 years of your business, how different is it for you to be able to stay motivated, to find ease in remotivating yourself? How big of a change is that for you from when you first started in business to, you've been in a business a while, so you've worked out the wiggles and the kinks and the nerves and all that nice fun stuff. So talk to me about what's different for you now as a more experienced entrepreneur.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's been a progression along the way. So again, as I mentioned before, so for motivation, I really go back to reading books, but a lot of that actually came from my mentor, who was my grandfather at the time. He's no longer with us, but he was my mentor, and he was a business owner, and he always really spoke highly of the Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill type stuff. So I kind of dug into that, and that kind of led me into some of the other motivational inspiration type speakers like Jim Rohn and
love Jim.
and some of the others. So I really, if I'm ever down in a down moment, I usually go back to that and I listen to it, just because he's, such an optimist, really puts your mind in the right perspective. Generally the thing that I've learned is that there's always two ways to look at something. So, when it's easy for you to kind of get down on yourself or maybe to lose motivation, and you got to really take a step back, take a deep breath and look at the other side of the story. And oftentimes the things that I've found is that when things are going maybe at their worst, they can end up being the biggest blessing for you. So I guess just never giving up and just knowing and believing in what you do is the biggest piece to, staying motivated and positive throughout business. So
awesome. Brandon, welcome. How are you?
Good. Yourself? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. What part of the world are you hailing from?
I'm from Toronto, Ontario, in Canada.
I'm Canadian.
So
howdy.
A lot of people talking about Canucks.
Yeah, lots of Canadians on board here. Keith is in DC, right? Did I remember that right?
No, I'm actually in Cleveland.
Oh,
so
Ohio.
Not too far.
That works.
Yeah.
That works. I got family Midwest. So, Brandon, what do you think about what we've been sharing today? We've been talking about motivation and how it really ties into being able to get growth into your business.
Well, I think it's your mindset and your energy. I mean, I understand, for myself, I'm a social media marketing consultant and business consultant since 2001. So 2004, I took on the social media marketing, but you connect with yourself and your businesses, and you kind of see the mirror of what you're dealing with and what they're dealing with as you're growing. and the challenges and like Keith was saying, I mean, it's, you know, you got to keep going, you got to keep pushing. But I always recommend people is to measure what they're doing from start to finish, to have small scale measurements, because there's times like all of us go through as entrepreneurs where it's slow, right? Money's struggling, you give up, things are not working out, systems are failing, and you're just like, you want to close the doors. And sometimes you need to take a break. You need to take just step back for a couple hours, even for a day, just to recharge, connect with the right people, and then come back at it and see with different eyes what's going on. Because I know for myself, I mean, all of us go through our hills and valleys of business, but it's how you get through that. And like Keith was saying, each valley is a lesson. You know, what did you learn from it? Not emotionally kind of getting engaged and down like, oh my God, my business sucks, I'm terrible, I'm so dumb, I can't do it. No, okay, what's wrong? What do I need to look at? What do I need to fix? Who do I need help with to get this change and modify to move to the next step? Because sometimes we're so deep in our business, we don't see what's going on. We got our head down, we're just going, and someone comes in and goes, oh, Brennan, did you see that? And you're like, oh my God, that's what it is? I've been spending like 3 days looking at the same thing. And they just come by and go, it's that. And you're like, oh my God, it changes the world, right? And then you start going forward. So I think with myself is understanding the work-life balance, making sure you manage your time, you take care of yourself, you're eating, you're sleeping, your hydration. I mean, I drink water constantly. You can see it here. Right? You make sure exactly. Make sure you take care of yourself, because if you take care of yourself, it'll take care of your business. Because some of us, and I don't know about you guys and the people that are watching, we have staff, we have team, we have people underneath us. So we are not that driving force. We're not clear. We're not energetic. We're not focused. It affects them. It trickles down to them, and they get affected. And sometimes they slack off or they make mistakes because you're not driving the business. So all these factors, I think, is great to motivate yourself and to stay balanced.
I mean, there's a lot of goodness that you just shared. So if I kind of reiterate it, because I think that's how we all learn from each other. But, you know, it's that savoring the little things. And when I've got a client that we're working together and they're like, oh my God, it's just taking so long. Like, you really need to write down what you've accomplished, because as visionaries, and most entrepreneurs are visionary, right? We're very forward thinking. Well, it's hard to look behind us and say, my gosh, I've been kicking ass, you know, and I've been taking names and I've been doing a pretty good job. And have you really seen what I've done in the last 3 months? And if you don't take the time to exactly like sister, I think it's Christine, celebrate the small successes out there. That's exactly the truth, because it's all those small successes that are creating the big ones. And I think even Jim Rohn had this, or maybe it was Brian Tracy, that was basically saying, you know, that we all think that people are overnight successes, but we never saw the 10 years of work and effort that they put into that success. So that's how you really see those kind of small successes. And Christina shared, you know, one of the ways she stays motivated is journaling. That's a great way, even if it's at the end of the day, to say, what did I get done today? Because with the time management aspect, if you've got family, if you've got other things going on, you do need to hold yourself accountable. What did I get done today? You know, like I said, I was ready to quit work today at 1:00 because it's been an awesome day. I've gotten stuff done. And that's really the opportunity that we have as entrepreneurs. Now, let's see. We still have one seat out there, and I'm going to let you know. I've got like 5 minutes because I got to go get my kiddos. And we have piano, 2 football practices, and selling popcorn this afternoon. So crazy afternoon. Brandon, what's your favorite book? We've heard Keith is reading Michael Port's Book Yourself Solid, which is an awesome book. What's the best book you've read lately?
Lately, I reread Think and Grow Rich, especially when Blab was coming out. Hearing everyone talk about their strategies on it. I reread Think and Grow Rich just recently because it kind of goes through the evolution of the challenges of successful people, how they keep trying, they keep going through their struggles, but they work through it, and they came to this mindset they just weren't going to give up. So I think that was one of the better books I've read. And then the 4-Hour Work Week, I was rereading that one. Is again, I mean, one of the things I find with these systems is that, and with coaching myself, people online, is trying to manage your time in your systems, that you're not sitting here all day. Because I mean, I don't know if you guys find this, Blab can be addictive. One to another, and all of a sudden 4 hours are gone, and you're like, oh, I got to work. I got to do something. I got to be productive, right? Because you're watching, you're jumping in, you're listening to what's going on. You're getting the download of this great information, but you're like, oh, I have clients I have to see, emails I have to answer. You know, I have projects I have to get completed. So those are the two books that I read, and I recommend people, if they haven't read them or they haven't read them in a while, to reread them.
Now, have you read Out with the Devil?
No.
Okay, so everything that you're just talking about right there, and I actually use it as part of my speech when I'm talking about time management, and it talks about procrastination, drifting, definite vision, and really what the aspect of. I will say this is a book that if you are not familiar with Napoleon Hill, there was a reason that they kept it non-published for so long. So you have to kind of read it with a grain of salt and look for the golden nuggets that are in it. Mm-hmm. But it is a lot of what we've been talking about today, you know, and I love Think and Grow Rich, but I probably enjoyed, you know, Outwitting the Devil a little bit more just because of I'm so results driven and, you know, getting that action and the results part of my business, that made perfect sense to me. So I'd throw that in there with the caveat of grain of salt. You're probably not going to like everything that's in it, but find the nuggets, because I mean, the nuggets are all right out in front of us. It's just about what can you absorb and what's a good fit for you to do so.
No, makes sense. Okay. Out with the Devil, right?
Out with the Devil.
Okay.
It's really super simple read, quick read. Okay, guys. Keith, do you have any parting words? Brandon, parting words. How are we going to leave the Monday off? What's your go get 'em kind of thing?
Keith?
Well, you know what, I think that kind of going back to our conversation earlier, you know, first and foremost, you know, start with why with whatever you're doing. You know, that's really important. You know, make sure that, you know, you have clarity in what you're trying to do. And stick with it. You know, keep educating yourself and stay motivated along the way, and measure for success. I mean, those are kind of the pieces that I take away from it, and I think it's been tremendous. So, thanks, Leslie, for having us on. Yeah,
thanks for coming. This has been a blast. My first one. I've had a great time. Brandon, how about you? Thanks.
I think the one thing I like to have people take away is, at the end of the day, remember you're doing this for yourself, and to have joy in your life and everything you do. So bring joy to yourself each and every day, each and every moment you're doing it, and then go out and bring joy to others. If you can do that, you're going to have success. You're going to have abundance in all areas of your life, including financial, because people are going to want to work with you.
Yeah. You become a magnet. Well, I will kind of end with, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start in order to be great. And often it's that first step of going out into the unknown that really can lead you down the best path of your life, because I don't know that any of us thought we'd be where we are, 10, 14, 12, 7 years ago when we first started out, but we had to take that first step. And then it's about taking that second step. So guys, thank you so much. Everyone that was on, Felicia and Karen and Christina and Gerald and Keith and Brandon, I think I got everybody, and plus all the great people that were chatting along with us. I had a blast. I consider it a successful venture. And so we'll get that next one going, right? I gotta practice what I preach. Thanks so much, guys. Have a great Monday.